Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the part of the lesson that has us focusing on formal organizations. So in theory, before you got to this part, you should have already watched the Crash Course Sociology episode. This is further information that kind of delves deeper, if you will, on some of the key content taught in that episode. So let's go ahead and get started. And remember, your job is to answer the key concept questions that appear on the Google Doc as we go forward. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to understand the different types of formal organizations that exist in our society, recognize the characteristics of bureaucracies, and also identify the concepts of the McJob and the McDonaldization of society. If you recall in Crash Course, this was a concept that was talked about, but we're going to delve deeper upon that as well. So a complaint of modern life is that society is dominated by large impersonal secondary organizations. From schools to businesses to healthcare to government, these organizations, referred to as formal organizations, are highly bureaucratized. Indeed, all formal organizations are, or likely will become, bureaucracies. A bureaucracy is an ideal type of formal organization, and ideal doesn't mean best, it's in a sociological usage. It refers to a general model that describes a collection of characteristics, or a type that could describe most examples of the item under discussion. So for example, if your professor were to tell you that class to picture a car in their minds, most students will picture a car that shares a set of characteristics, 4 wheels, a windshield, and so on. Everyone's car will be somewhat different. However, some might picture a 2-door sports car, while others picture an SUV. The general idea of the car that everyone shares is an ideal type. We will discuss bureaucracies as an ideal type of organization. Look at this example down here. Types of formal organizations. Group A, Group B. Girl Scout troops or correlational facilities are both formal organizations. But of course, when we dig deeper, there's differences between the two. Sociologist Amatai et Soni posted that formal organizations fall into 3 categories. Normative organizations, also called voluntary organizations, are based on shared interests, and as the name suggests, joining them is voluntary and typically done because people find membership rewarding in an intangible way. The Audubon Society, a ski club, are examples of normative organizations. There's also coercive organizations, and these are groups that we must be coerced or pushed to join. These may include prison or a rehabilitation center. Symbolic interactionist Irving Goffman states that most coercive organizations are total institutions. A total institution is one in which inmates or military soldiers live in a controlled lifestyle and in which total resocialization takes place. If you recall, guys, we actually already talked about that in a previous lesson. The third type is utilitarian organizations, which, as the name suggests, are joined because of the need for a specific material reward. So high school and the workplace fall into this category, and one joined in pursuit of a diploma, the other in order to make money. So here's a chart that you can draw on for reference later on about the table of formal organizations. Once again, the benefit of membership here is there's an intangible benefit, and of course coercive benefit and tangible benefit based off of the different types of the ways and means upon which these bureaucracies are formed. Same thing with memberships and, of course, the feeling of connectedness that you have to that said social group. So let's look at these bureaucracies in depth. Bureaucracies are an ideal type of formal organization, and pioneer sociologist Max Weber popularly characterized a bureaucracy as having a hierarchy of authority, a clear division of labor, explicit rules, and impersonality. People often complain about bureaucracies, declaring them slow, rule-bound, difficult to navigate, and unfriendly. But let's take a look at terms that define a bureaucracy to understand what they actually mean. Hierarchy and authority refers to the aspect of bureaucracy that places one individual or office in charge of another, who in turn must answer to her own superiors. For example, as an employee at Walmart, your shift manager assigns you tasks. Your shift manager answers to his store manager. You must answer her regional manager, and so on in a chain of command, up to the CEO, who must answer to the board members, who in turn answer to the stockholders. Everyone in this bureaucracy follows the chain of command. A clear division of labor refers to the fact that within a bureaucracy, each individual has specialized tasks to perform. For example, psychology professors teach psychology, but they do not attempt to provide students with financial aid forms. In this case, it is clear and common sense division. But what about in a restaurant where food is backed up in the kitchen and a hostess is standing nearby texting on her phone? Her job is to see customers, not to deliver food. Is this a smart division of labor? The existence of explicit rules refers to a way in which rules are outlined, written down, and standardized. For example, at your college or university, the student guidelines are contained within the student handbook. As technology changes and campuses encounter new concerns like cyberbullying, identity theft, and other hot-button issues, organizations are scrambling to ensure their explicit rules cover these emerging topics. Finally, bureaucracies are also characterized by impersonality, which takes personal feelings out of the professional situations. These characteristics grew, to some extent, out of a desire to protect organizations from nepotism, backroom deals, and other types of favoritism, simultaneously protecting customers and others served by the organization. Impersonality is an attempt by large formal organizations to protect their members, and large businesses, organizations like Walmart and others often stipulate or situate themselves as bureaucracies on purpose. This allows them to effectively and efficiently serve volumes of customers quickly and with affordable products. This results in an impersonal organization. Customers frequently complain that stores like Walmart care little about individuals, other businesses, and the community at large. But bureaucracies are, in theory at least, meritocracies, meaning that hiring and promotion is based on proven and documented skills, rather than on nepotism or random choice. In order to get into a prestigious college, you need to perform well on an SAT and have an impressive transcript. In order to become a lawyer and represent clients, you must graduate law school and pass the state bar exam. Of course, there are many well-documented examples of success by those who did not proceed through traditional meritocracies. Think about technology companies with founders who dropped out of college, or performers who became famous after a YouTube video went viral. How well do you think established meritocracies identify talent? Wealthy families hire tutors, interview coaches, test prep services, and consultants to help their kids get them into the best schools. So this starts as early as kindergarten in New York City, where competition for the most highly regarded schools is especially fierce. Are these schools, many of which have copious scholarship funds that are intended to make the school more democratic, really offering all applicants a fair shake? So there are several aspects of bureaucracies, and they're intended to improve efficiency, ensure equal opportunities, and ensure that most people can be served. And there are times when rigid hierarchies are needed, but remember that many of our bureaucracies grew at large at the same time our school model was developed. In fact, during the Industrial Revolution is the time we're referring to. Young workers were trained and organizations were built for mass production, assembly line work, and factory jobs. In these scenarios, a clear chain of command was critical. But now in the information age, this kind of rigid training and adherence to protocol can actually decrease both productivity and efficiency. In fact, today's workplace requires a faster pace, more problem solving, and a flexible approach to work. Too much adherence to explicit rules and a division of labor can leave an organization behind. And unfortunately, once established, bureaucracies can take on a life of their own. Maybe you've heard the expression, trying to turn a tanker around mid-ocean, which refers to the difficulties of changing direction with something large and set in its ways. State governments in current budget crises are examples of this challenge, and it is almost impossible to make quick changes, leading states to continue year after year with increasingly unbalanced budgets. Finally, bureaucracies, as mentioned, grew as institutions at a time when privileged white males held all the power. While ostensibly based on meritocracy, bureaucracies can perpetuate the existing balance of power by only recognizing the merit in traditionally male and privileged paths. In fact, Michaels in 1911 suggested that at large, all large organizations are characterized by the iron rule of oligarchy, where an entire organization is ruled by a few elites. Do you think this is true? And can a large organization actually be collaborative? Well, something that the Crash Course Sociology episode talked about to you guys is the essence of the McDonaldization of society. Let's continue on to prove this point about whether or not this is helping or hurting the workplace. The McDonaldization of society refers to an increasing presence of fast food business models in common social institutions. This business model includes efficiency, the division of labor, predictability, calculability, and control monitoring. For example, in your average chain grocery store, people at the register check out customers while stockers keep the shelves full of goods and deli workers slice meats and cheese to order efficiently. But whenever you enter a store within a grocery chain, you receive the same type of goods, see the same store organization, and find the same brands at the same prices predictably. You will find that goods are sold out of by the pound so that you can weigh your fruit and vegetable purchase rather than simply guessing at the price for that bag of onions, while the employees use a time card to calculate their hours and receive overtime pay calculatedly. Finally, you will notice that all store employees are wearing a uniform and usually a name tag so that they can be easily identified. There are security cameras to monitor the store, and some parts of the store, such as the stockroom, are generally considered off-limits to customers' control. But while McDonaldization has resulted in improved profits and increased availability of various goods and services to more people worldwide, It has also reduced the variety of goods available in the marketplace while rendering available products uniform, generic, and bland. Think of the difference between a mass-produced shoe and one made by a local cobbler, between a chicken from a family-owned farm and a corporate grower, or between a cup of coffee from a local diner or one from Starbucks. The secrets of the job here are quite controversial, but here's how it works in today's times. We often talk about bureaucracies disparagingly, and no organization takes on more heat than fast food restaurants. Several books and movies such as Fast Food Nation, The Dark Side of the All-American Meal by Eric Schussler paint an ugly picture of what goes on and what comes out of fast food chains. From their environmental impact to their role in the U.S. obesity epidemic, fast food chains are connected to numerous societal ills. Furthermore, working at a fast food restaurant is often disparaged and even referred dismissively as having a McJob rather than a real job. But business school professor Jerry Newman went undercover and worked behind the counter at 7 fast food restaurants to discover what really goes on there. His book, My Secret Life on the McJob, documents his experience. Unlike Sosler, Newman found that these restaurants offer much good alongside the bad. Specifically, he asserted that the employees were honest and hardworking, and that management was often impressive, and that these jobs required a lot more skill and effort than most people imagined. In the book, Newman cites a pharmaceutical executive who says fast food service job on an applicant's resume is a plus because it indicates the employee is reliable and can handle pressure. Businesses like Chipotle, Panera, and Costco attempt to combat many of the effects of McDonaldization. In fact, Costco is known for paying its employees an average of $20 per hour, or slightly more than, of course, $40,000 per year. Nearly 90% of their employees receive health insurance from Costco, and a number of that is unheard of in the retail sector. While Chipotle is known for high wages of its employees, it's also known for attempting to sell high-quality foods from responsibly sourced providers. This is a different approach from what the Schlossler describes among burger chains like McDonald's. So what do you think? Are these McJobs and the organizations that offer them still serving a role in the economy and people's careers? Or are they dead-end jobs that typify all that is negative about large bureaucracies? Have you ever worked in one? And would you? So as you guys can see, these are some of the things that show us about how bureaucracies work and how formal organizations work. And although large organizations fall into 3 main categories, normative, voluntary, coercive, and utilitarian, we live in a time of contradiction. While the pace of change and technology are requiring people to be more nimble and less bureaucratic in their thinking, large bureaucracies like hospitals, schools, and governments are more hampered than ever by their organizational format. And at the same time, the past few decades have seen the development of a trend to bureaucratize and conventionalize local institutions. Increasingly, main streets across the country resemble each other. Instead of Bob's Coffee Shop and Jane's Hair Salon, there's a Dunkin' Donuts and a Supercuts, and this trend has been referred to as the McDonaldization of society. Only time will tell how bureaucracies and this type of construct of McDonaldization will affect our sociological makeup and our society at large. Thank you very much for tuning in. And remember, please go ahead and complete the rest of those key concept questions and move on to the rest of the lesson. Thank you.